Hello again and welcome to the 140k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Dale Blakeman for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard army. This is the Cadian 134th, supported by the Scions number 8 Air Mobile Commando Regiment. Absolutely fantastic pictures, Dale. Really like the contrasting colour scheme between the Scions and the Guardsmen, and it's quite a classic Cadian scheme as well. And you guys know that I am very much a sucker for a well done Cadian colour scheme. Even if it looks a bit generic, if it's done right and done clean, it just looks good. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. Now today's video is going to be a fairly quick one, guys. I'm just going to talk about my most recent, well, most up-to-date version of my Armageddon Steel Legion Mechanized list. Now I run this Mechanized list as Armageddon Steel Legion just because I like the models, but this list has been designed where you could attach any regiment to it, you could plug and play any regiment into it, and it should do well. Now this is a competitive list that will do you well at most tournaments. However, I will not tell you it will win you a tournament. That's not the case. If you want to win a tournament, go and play Space Marines and go and use the latest net list. This is a good, competitive, themed, mechanized Imperial Guard list. And this is what I have found to work very well. This list has faced off twice against the current meta Tau drone spam list. One game it won fairly convincingly, and the second game it lost by 1 point, and that wasn't the list's fault, that was my fault. I was rusty, and there were 3 times when I could have picked up kill more and I didn't, stupidly, and I lost the game by 1 point. So the list should have won it. It was me that lost it. Totally my fault. It's also faced off against the latest Blood Angels and won. And it has faced Eldar, Dark Elder, Harlequins with Haywire Spam, Genestealer Cult, other Imperial Guard, and it's beat them all. So I would say it's a fairly strong list. So that's the credentials behind it. I have caveated it by saying, you know, obviously it's not the latest net list, so it won't win you a tournament, but you should be able to go there, win a few games, and come back being able to hold your head up high. And that's all we really want, most of us tournament players, isn't it? So the list is just 2 battalions, okay, which gives you a total of 13 command points. And you're going to spend 2 command points before the beginning of the game. And you're going to make one of the battalions the Emperor's Fist Tank Company, and the other battalion the Emperor's Wrath Artillery Company. Now, in the first battalion, you are going to have 3 tank commanders, and each one of these, you're going to arm one of them with a battle cannon, and you're going to swap that battle cannon for the relic, the Hammer of Sunderance. And that tank is also going to be armed with a heavy bolter, 2 plasma cannons, and 2 plasma cannon sponsors, okay, and a heavy stubber. The other 2 tank commanders are going to be armed with demolisher cannons, a heavy bolter in the hull, and 2 plasma cannon sponsors. So that's 3 tank commanders in total, 2 demolisher, and 1 Lehman Russ battle tank. For the troop selection, you're going to take 3 squads of guardsmen, and each one of those squads you're going to give a bolter on the sergeant, and that's it. And you're going to mount each one of those squads in a chimera, and those chimeras are going to have 2 heavy bolters each and a heavy stubber or storm bolter, weapon of your choice. Okay, if you were planning on running like Talan, I'd probably go for a heavy stubber. For everyone else, I would consider going for a storm bolter, although I generally prefer the heavy stubber overall because of the greater range and the consistency of attacks. Okay, And then you are going to put in the heavy support section, you're going to have 2 Leman Russ executioners. Each one of those is going to have an executioner plasma cannon turret, and you're also going to have a hull heavy bolter and 2 plasma cannons on the side. So that's 5 Leman Russes in total for that detachment, along with 3 mechanized infantry squads. Now the second battalion, now you've made that, that is, by the way, in case it's not clear, that is the Emperor's Fist Tank Company. The reason you do that is to give yourself access to the Hammer of Sunderance relic, and the reason you also get access to your Leman Russes can all benefit from the move 10 and still shoot twice stratagem that you can put on. So you can only do that once per turn, but you can do that on any Russ, and typically you can do that on your demolishers. Loadout choices for the reason I've chosen those loadouts for those units is when I'm running Armageddon Steel Legion, I like to put a bolter on each sergeant because they get an 18-inch rapid fire with that bolt weapon. I like to go for heavy bolters on my chimeras because they are cheap. They're only 8 points each. Right? I know a lot of people swear by double heavy flamer ones, but my chimeras are mostly there to help do long range fire support. That means if you actually look, everything in this army, all the vehicles have basically got a minimum of a 36-inch range, and my infantry don't do a lot of fighting. So when the whole army has a minimum 36-inch range, that actually allows you to be fighting with every unit from turn 1, and that's powerful. It's got a lot of heavy bolters, and the reason I go for heavy bolters is because strength 5 is in that sweet spot for wounding, and AP -1 is fantastic because it basically means you can remove you're removing cover. You are removing cover on or you're bringing those Marines from a 3 up to a 4 up, and that's good. And again, like I said, I like heavy stubbers on the chimeras because it allows you to have 36-inch range on all the main guns on the chimera, which is good. And then if people get close, the las gunner rays can kick in. But I'd rather have the consistency of the heavy stubber. The infantry squads are relatively bare bones because they're really there for taking objectives. They're not really there for doing a lot of heavy lifting. I have dropped the plasma from my old list because I was finding it wasn't doing a lot. And the loadouts on the Russes. So obviously one of the tank commanders has got the Hammer of Sunderance, and the reason he's got the 2 plasma cannons and the heavy bolter is to complement that firepower. He finds a firing lane, he sticks in that firing lane, and he throws firepower down range. The heavy stubber on that guy is again because he's going to be at long range most of the time, and I had 2 points left over, and it just means it adds an extra 3 shots to that guy, and he will be telling himself gunner's kill on sight every single turn for those sweet reroll ones. The other two tank commanders, the demolishers, are going to they've got plasma cannons because plasma cannons are the best sponsor choice you can give your Leman Russ at the moment. And surprisingly, yes, a lot of people say, but the demolisher cannon means they're going to move, so they're going to be at -1 to hit with those side plasmas, which means they could overheat and kill themselves easier. True, but I tend to find that 24 inches is actually a relatively long way, and it only takes 1 or 2, I'd say 1 movement phase to get those demolishers into range of something, maybe 2. But even then, you can just move 10 inches in one go with one of them and use the CP on the stratagem to still let you fire twice, or you can just move 10 with both and they get to fire 1d6 for 1 turn. The point is that your demolishers will be in range most of the time, and I've done that on Hammer and Anvil games. It's still you're still going to be in range very quickly. 24 inches is not really that short range, and I've learned that through using demolishers. And the executioners they are cheap. Executioners with 2 plasma cannons, plasma turret, and whole heavy bolter are 150 points of pure firepower, and they are consistent because you overcharge them every single turn, and they're always doing 2 damage. You need a lot of strength 8 in this list because think about it, your main source of firepower is coming from your Leman Russes, and you want you want hull saturation. So if your opponents are going after your Demolisher Cannons and your Hammer of Sunderance, they've got 2 Lehman Russes there, which are just pouring unholy levels of plasma fire onto them, and they're cheap. Unlike the Exterminator, which is I actually like the Exterminator, but the problem with it is it's only strength 7 and it's only AP -1, whereas the Executioner is strength 8 when you're overcharging. You're overcharging every turn. It's AP -3. It's slicing through Primaris, and it's very anti-meta. There's a reason why I'm putting plasma on everything. Two damage means that every time you get that wound through, which you go into a lot because Primaris Marines are at best going to be on a 5-up in cover. Most of the time they're going to be on a 6-up. And every single one that you kill, that's it, it's dead. It's a lot of plasma spam. Even the Hammer of Sunderance is flat damage 3, and the Demolisher Cannons are D6 damage. So everything is on those tanks is flat damage 2 or better. And you've got so many heavy bolters. You've got 5 heavy bolters on the tanks, 12 on the and 6 on those first Chimeras. So that's the first detachment. Second detachment is another battalion, and in this you have 2 company commanders, Yarrick, Lord Commissar Yarrick. Company commanders have just got Lad's Pistol and Chainsword. You have 3 more mechanized infantry squads with bolter on the sergeant, and all the Chimeras have got double heavy bolter and a heavy stubber. So that's another 6 heavy bolters and another 18 strength 5 AP -1 shots and 9 strength 4 shots. And then to finish it off, you have 2 basilisks, and each one of those basilisks has just got a hull heavy bolter and the Earthshaker cannon. Now the reason the mechanized infantry squads, they make sense. You're going to have 1 company commander with each platoon, and with each squad with 1 company commander per 3 mechanized squads, because you can always do 2 orders with them, and in a pinch you can always do an extra order with inspired tactics. Now you take Lord Commissar Yarrick and you make him your warlord. So that gives you an extra order, but you also make him your warlord because he's dead hard. He's got a 4-up invuln save. He's toughness 4, and if he gets down to his last wound, he gets a 3+ feel no pain. So even if the opponent he's got 4 wounds, the first 3 go off, fine, whatever. Then he gets a 3-up feel no pain. Fantastic. So you take him for the extra order, and you take him because he's not going to give up warlord anytime soon, but also because he gives you reroll 1s. And what that allows you to do is 2 things. You can put him, you'll have your Demolisher Cannons and Hammer of Sunderance on 1 flank, and then what you can do is on the other flank you can have Yarrick supporting your 2 Executioners, and depending on how you play it, he could also be in range of your 2 Basilisks potentially. Okay, giving them reroll 1s, but you definitely want to give reroll 1s to the Executioners because otherwise they're going to fry themselves. And because you're giving reroll 1s to the Executioners with Yarrick, you're not having to spend CPs on inspired tactics to give them from the tank commanders, and your tank commanders just tell themselves every turn, gunner's kill on sight, and they're always rerolling 1s. So your Executioners are rerolling 1s thanks to Yarrick, and your tank commanders are all telling themselves to reroll 1s. Now, the Basilisks can also benefit from Yarrick's reroll 1 bubble. But they are going to be, this battalion is the Emperor's Wrath Artillery Detachment, and you will really want to be using the ability for that Basilisk to fire twice. Those Basilisks to fire twice, okay? And you're going to want to be using the stratagem from the Guard Codex Aerial Spotters, which lets one of those Basilisks reroll all its shots. So it gets to do that. You play Aerial Spotters, and then you get to fire your Basilisk twice. So that's 2d6, pick the highest twice, rerolling all hits. That's great. So you don't really need Yarrick. You don't really need Yarrick to babysit the Basilisks, because you basically one of those Basilisks is going to be pounding away every single turn, and when one of them dies, you just start using the second one. It's just redundancy. Now it's very important. I used to run 4 Sentinels with Lad's Cannon instead of those Basilisks, And I swapped them out and moved the points around a little bit to be able to afford the battle, because I played 2 games ITC style where I really needed some indirect fire. And that's what those Basilisks do. They can shoot at things out of line of sight. That is really, really useful. You don't necessarily need to be... I did consider Wyverns until the recent points increase. If Wyverns hadn't gone up to some stupid 117 points, I would suggest using 2 Wyverns. But as they did go up to that, 2 Basilisks it is. But I like the Basilisks not only for the indirect fire, but it also brings even more big guns. You see, what this list specialises in is it has a huge volume of firepower, but also all that firepower is strength 5 or greater. Don't really worry. You've got the lasgun arrays and you've got the lasguns in the squads, and you can give them all first strike, fast strike 5. You need to up your anti-infantry through the roof. But generally speaking, you've got 5 heavy bolters from the Lehman Russes, and you've got another 12 heavy bolters from the Chimeras. So that's 17 heavy bolters, which is 51 heavy bolter shots in a turn. Plus then you've got your 7 heavy stubbers. Don't forget the one on the tank commander. So that's another 21 bolter shots at 36-inch range. And that's all your anti-infantry. And then you've got your demolisher cannons. You've got your 2 executioners, which can run duty easily. Then you've got essentially from... I don't forget you've got 2 heavy bolts in the Basilisk, although I'm not really counting those because they'd typically be out of range. Not out of range, out of line of sight. Although maybe not, Basilisks can shoot their heavy bolts from the tip of their barrel, modelling for advantage, but it's on the you're not changing the model anyway. So that is another 2 heavy bolters you can throw into the mix, which one of them can benefit from aerial spotters. Don't forget that. And then on top of all the consistent firepower, all the set number of heavy bolters and heavy stubber shots. On top of all that, you've got your 24 lasgun shot, 36 lasgun shots from the Chimeras as well, at long range. That jumps up to 72 if the enemy gets within 12 inches. And even on top of all that, that's just pitter patter. 72 lasgun shots, 51 heavy bolter shots, 21 heavy stubber shots. That's all just pitter patter, because on top of that, you have 5 times 2d6 shots, all of which are strength 8 or better. All of which are rerolling 1s. The majority of which are hitting on 3s. That's insane. That's an average of 7 shots per... 8 shots per vehicle. 7 strength 8 shots per vehicle. We've got 5 of them. That's an average of 35 big gun shots. So when you add your 51 plus your 21, that's 72. And then you add your 35, you're looking at 107 shots in total. We're not even including the lasguns yet. You can add 72 lasgun shots on top of that. Or, well, 36 lasgun shots on top of that if you want to. We're not even counting that. Then you've got your Basilisks, which one of them's firing twice. So that's like having 3 Basilisks. And they get 2d6 pick the highest, which means you're going to be getting like 4 more, at least 4 shots more from each one of those on average. So that's another 12 shots. So you're up to like almost 100, you're up to 119 good shots, plus potentially 72 lasgun shots. If not more if you pile all your infantry out, but you don't want to do that. So not only does this list have good firepower, but this list has lots of firepower. It is go big or go home and throw enough shit at the wall and see what sticks. It is everything. Should also say there is a tech boost engines here and there because it's a mechanized list. Having a guy who can run around and heal D3 points is going to come up every single game, isn't it? D3 hull points. Hull points? Wounds. What addition is this? D3 wounds. So you've got all that, and the list is dead hard. It is 144 wounds, which are all on a 3+ save, all ignoring AP -1. Of those 144 wounds, 60 of them are toughness 7. 60 of them? Yep, 60 are toughness 7. 60 of them are toughness 8 on the Lehman Russes. And 24 of them are toughness 6 on the Basilisks. So the majority of your wounds are toughness, at least, are toughness 7 and toughness 8. And then on top of that, you've got 60 infantry as well. So there's 204 wounds, plus you've got your 3 characters, which have got 4 wounds each. So that's 216 wounds in the army, the majority of which are to 3-up save and are toughness 7 and toughness 8. And even toughness 6. That is incredible. That is actually dead hard. People worry about facing 3 knights. 3 knights is only 72 toughness 8 3+ save wounds. This list has 144. 120. This list has 120 wounds that are toughness 7 or higher on a 3+ save. 100, that's big. So it is dead hard and dead shooting. Now it can get tagged in assault. Don't get me wrong, it can get tagged in assault. But what you do, and I've talked about this before with Mechanised, is you screen with units you don't mind getting tagged. For example, Chimeras. And even if the enemy surrounds 1 or 2 of them and stops you from being able to shoot 50% of their army, what you then do is you focus all your remaining firepower on the 50% of the army that you can shoot. Because even if they're wrapping and trapping units, they're not wrapping and trapping your whole army. And what you'll find is you will grind them down. Over the turns, you will grind them down until the enemy realises that you've still got loads of tanks and they've been wasting turns wrapping and trapping Chimeras, and you don't really care about that. And if you're facing that's if you're facing an assault army, and if you're facing a shooty army, what I recommend you do, especially if you're playing an objective-based game, a cumulative objective-based game, ITC as well, is you use your infantry, use your Chimeras, and you position them where at any point they are within 12 inches of an objective to help you get more, to hold more objectives. And then every turn you just jump out an infantry squad which has got obsec, and you get it within range of an objective. If it's one that's being fought over, that's 10 obsec bodies in range of that objective straight away. That's fantastic. And basically what you do is you use your every single turn. Your opponent will get so frustrated. Every single turn, a unit's going to pop out of a Chimera. A unit's going to pop out here. A unit's going to pop out there. And it's like, God, because you've got 60 infantry, you can do it 1 or 2 squads every single turn. For 6 turns. If you do 1 squad a turn every single turn for 6 turns, you've got infantry on objectives every single turn. And your infantry are mobile because they're in a Chimera and they can get out 9 inches and then advance and then move and advance and move again. So you've got like potentially 27-inch range movement on your guardsmen. That's pretty hefty. And this list actually likes ITC. This list really likes ITC. It can do both, but it likes ITC. Let me know what you guys think. That is my current Steel Legion list. I will eventually get around to putting a link to it in the comments section. So if you want to copy and paste it, it'll be down there. Like I said, it won't necessarily win you a tournament, but you should be able to go to an event and hold your head up high, because even against things like Imperial Fists that are going to bolter you to death, still the Imperial Fists they rely on heavy bolters, which means they're going to be wounding your entire army on 5s, which is not ideal. And yeah, Imperial Fists can kill knights, no problem. Don't get me wrong, Imperial Fists can kill knights, but they often only have to kill like 3 knights, maybe 4, and that's only facing 4 knights is only 96 wounds. You've got double that in your vehicles. You've got facing 3 knights is 72 wounds. You have double that in your armoured vehicles. So you have double the amount of 3+ save wounds that a knight has. And against 3 bolters, you are just as tough. So it's weirdly anti-meta in that way. Obviously, people can tag you, and Marines will probably rinse you anyway. But you should be able to do fairly well with this list. Now, I did say you could plug any regiment into this. That is true. You want to, you know, you've got a lot of random shot weapons. You could drop Yarrick, take Harker, go Katachan, and the 45 points you save on the difference between Harker and Yarrick, you could get yourself 3 Astropaths for a little bit of psychic defense and to remove cover on a lot of enemy units. I think that would work really, really well. I think this list probably works better as Katachan because most Marine lists are actually AP -2 or better. So Steel Legion wouldn't help us that much. You could go for Stroyan to get extra range on those Demolisher cannons, and also to be able to use Firstborn Pride on your Basilisks, or to really, you know, imagine Firstborn Pride plus aerial spotters plus pounding barrage. Now that Basilisk is going to be, it's going to be shooting out a lot of shots. Cadian, obviously you wouldn't need Yarrick. Everyone would be getting to reroll 1s most of the time anyway. You save yourself 100 points. You could spend those 100 points on, you know, you could drop the heavy stubber on the tank commander, drop the bolters on the sergeants, drop Yarrick, and get yourself a 3rd Basilisk if you wanted to. Easily doable. You're not really losing any firepower. Talan, obviously, it's all those heavy bolts and those chimeras are going to love you if you're Talan because you're going to be moving and shooting without penalty. Valhallan, all those vehicles become even harder to shift because they're pretty much always going to be on their top profile. Mordian, this list would work actually quite well as Mordian because you'll be having lots of vehicles near each other. So what's the biggest threat to this list? Getting tagged in close combat. What do Mordians help you do? Stop getting tagged in combat because you've got a 5+ overwatch with all your vehicles as long as they're within 3 inches of each other. That's pretty good. They pretty much will be. This list relies on running your units in pairs and trios. Try to think if I've missed anyone out. I've gone through Armageddon Steel Legion, gone through Destroyan, gone through Talan, gone through Cadian, gone through Katachan, gone through Mordians. Militarum Tempestus, if you were to take these guys as Militarum Tempestus Regiment, obviously you've got a lot of long-range firepower. The moment, you know, minimum range of 36 inches on all your guns. The moment someone starts getting within that 18-inch bracket, you're going to be getting a lot of additional shots. If you're looking at the heavy bolters alone, you could be getting as many as, on average, of 9 to 10 free heavy bolter shots a turn. So that's really nice. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think of the list down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed this list, and of course, I will see you guys next time.